Good morning. Welcome to Mirador Television, broadcasting out of the White Hart Hotel in the small but important town of Lewes in East Sussex in the United Kingdom. Welcome wherever you are. Part of our program is geared to local people. Part of it is geared to the rest of the world. We are local but not parochial. I'm Keith Hayes, and the other bloke sitting across there is Max
Max Hurd.
Gurley.
Hurd.
I heard that. Right, is Mad Max. He likes to be called Mighty Max, really, but is Mad Max to his friends and his associates. Anyway, welcome to the program this morning. And the world, it remains in the mess it was in yesterday. And the day before that, and the day before that. It is a jungle out there. So shall we just go to the main headlines for the moment, and the Metro, because actually it's a mixed bag this morning. The front pages of the newspapers give different stories.
I have noticed Metro has changed its logo back to the pride flag.
Yes, that's because the Germans, the picture of the Germans on the front page is of them putting their hands over their mouths, making a statement that they are not allowed to talk, to say what they think in terms of social injustice as they see it. Frankly, I wish they would keep their hands over their mouths. I'm fed up of listening to footballers, film stars, and other celebrities who haven't got a noggle in their head except for the skill they have telling us what we should think and what we should do. It's all a nonsense. For God's sake, get on with it. And in this particular case, that German team went out and got thoroughly whopped by Japan, I think. Yeah, they lost 2-1 to Japan, who, as far as I know, have not made any social statement whatsoever, but have got on with their football.
As they should.
There is a message there. The Metro, though, basically is the main headline is a referendum indie bin.
Also, you notice they have their armbands, the pride flag armbands.
Oh yeah.
I don't think the Germans wearing the armbands are a very good idea. Just saying.
Well, I mean, actually, I don't think that the armbands are a very good idea anyway. Right. I don't know why these political things have much to do with football. Basically, I suppose it's because a lot of people watch it, and it's a good way for those people who worry about such things to get their message across. I have never made any secret of my own view. Is I have no isms, absolutely no isms whatsoever. I have some lovely friends who are gay. I have some lovely friends who aren't gay. I have some lovely friends who are peculiar. I have some lovely friends who do anything. But if I'm going to ask them to do anything, like appear on TV or play football or whatever, I want to know that that's what they can do, not what their sexual proclivity is, or their sex, or their nationality. I don't want to know that. I want to know whether they can do the job in hand. That's the important thing. And we get so confused. But actually, what has taken away from the focus on politics and who should do what is the fact that the results have spoken for themselves. Is Saudi Arabia beat Belgium were playing Canada last night. Saudi Arabia won against Argentina. That's right. Saudi Arabia won against Argentina. Saudi Arabia are rated at something like the 60th in the world, and Argentina are rated between 1 and 2. Then on top of that, those Germans who are so bravely sitting in front of the camera, they were beaten by the Japanese. So there are some interesting situations. Even though our own team won 6-2 against, I think it was Iran, wasn't it, on the opening day, is they better watch out. There are strange things happening at this World Cup. And it may be that those people who are concentrating on their football rather than on their armbands, are going to show the rest of the world a few things about what we should be concentrating on with these things. And do not misunderstand. I am not unsympathetic to trying to bring people into a modern thought about any isms whatsoever in the right way. I certainly don't go along with the wokes, but is letting people know your view, fine, but don't mix it up. Don't mix it up with the case in hand. The case in hand in Qatar is to play football, and if you can't do that and you start getting turned over, then wow. Who have we got? Oh, good morning.
Morning, Ken.
How are you?
I'm okay, thank you. Yourself?
Not too bad, thanks. The bar is being prepared. Ha ha. That's my man.
Oh gosh.
Right. Anyway,
I just,
that's my little rant about that.
I've got one more thing to say about it. Just keep the politics out of football. Last year it was Black Lives Matter. This year it's the gays. Last year it was one knee. This year it's two knees.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
Football is football. That's why they're there. I'm happy to say, generally speaking, that my own game, rugby, it hasn't seeped into it anywhere near as deeply as it has to
not yet.
association football. No, but I hope that we are sensible enough to keep it out. But anyway, there we go. Who knows? Not much common sense around at all, anywhere at the moment. Basically, what the Metro is on about is that the High Court, Supreme Court, has ruled that the Scots cannot have another referendum for independence unless they get permission from the United Kingdom government. And I would have thought that was the last thing on the UK government's mind, is giving permission for another referendum.
No, I think we should. Scotland cost us a hell of a lot of money, and they take more money from us than they give. So I think to save money, we should get rid of Scotland.
Well, it on the surface, it's you look at the books and you want to add up the figures. That's fine, but I think it goes far deeper than that. It's every time that you do away with part of your country, what you do is you weaken the country overall.
The Scottish don't like it. The Scottish hate us anyway.
So let them hate us. But actually, I mean, have you thought of what happens across that border if the Scots claim independence?
No, because it doesn't. The
first thing is going to be is you trying to go to Scotland is you'll have to start off in Blackpool at the back of a line of cars, because there'll be customs posts. There'll be you'll have to show a passport. You have to show everything. They want to be part of the EU. We're not. We will be a foreign country, or they'll be a foreign country.
That's the thing I don't quite understand about the Scottish, is they want to leave the UK because they don't have enough say. They don't get enough say in this country. That's why they want to leave. But then they want to go join the European Union,
yes,
where the problem is a million times worse. That's so ridiculous.
I mean, I don't misunderstand. Nicola Sturgeon is not one of my favourite people, and I think that she's got an agenda that is brought on by some reason that she just hates the English. Now, that's no reason to actually set any political agenda just because you hate somebody. And her policies have been ripped apart time and time again, but she keeps coming back with the same old things. And people keep on saying, "Oh yeah." I mean, much the same sort of thing as you suggested is we hate one another. So actually, we don't.
No,
it's the same. It's the same as gays and so on and so forth. I've never met a Scot yet that I didn't actually at least accept. Most of them I like. So once again, it's a political game, and it's silly nonsense. Absolutely silly nonsense. Anyway, they ain't going to get the chance to vote on it for a little while. The I is Sunak faces a battle with unhappy Tory MPs. Here we go again. These backbench MPs have managed to spike the guns of every Conservative Prime Minister from David Cameron on down to Liz Truss. Whether they're right or wrong is quite beside the point. The fact is, you cannot govern a nation if what you've got the tail wagging the dog, and the tail is wagging the dog. The backbenchers don't like something, and so what they do is they become obstructive. And they've got rid of Liz Truss, they got rid of Boris Johnson, they got rid of Theresa May. They've made things unworkable in the House of Commons. Now, I'm sorry, tail, but this does not help the average person. It does not help get us out of the difficulties that we're in. What we need is a government and its supporters to pull together. That's what we need. And if you're not prepared to deliver that, get out of the game. Go and do something else. Go and serve in a pub or do something useful. Something that really will make people like you, instead of playing the silly nonsense that you do and then claiming expenses for it. Right? Rishi Sunak has said that he will not use money for his Christmas party, even though MPs have been told that they can. I don't find too many others saying that they're not going to use that money to have a Christmas party. Yeah, wooty booty wooty, booty booty booty. Let's hear from you. Let's hear whether you've got principle, because you're always raving on about principle and how you are not going to allow the government to do this, that, and the other. Don't notice you're giving up any of your cozy little options for stuffing more money into your bank account or your pocket.
I mean, I would love to say that problem could get fixed, but I doubt it will ever. I mean, I don't think we'll ever see the government investigate themselves. I don't think we'll ever see the government investigate themselves and find out they have done something wrong. And then I don't think they're also, on top of that, going to actually give themselves consequences for their actions. It's ridiculous. It'll never happen.
Actually, Max, I think that you're absolutely right. I mean, if you've got a nice perk, you actually don't want to give it up. But that's the trouble with reform. It doesn't matter whether you're talking about governments or the NHS or whatever. When people have got a nice cozy number, the last thing they're going to do is to initiate procedures, even if it does make the thing more efficient. They're going to give up their cozy way of life. And, I'm sorry, but I keep on returning to this theme more and more and more. I was talking to an old friend last night on the telephone, and I said, the sense of duty has disappeared from our society. Going back to President Kennedy, who put it most succinctly, ask not what your country can do for you, but what can you do for your country? I don't hear anybody in these modern things that are going on at the moment, these modern crises, saying, hey, how can we actually help get Britain out of the troubles that it's in? Not one. It's all me. Well, until we get back to a sense of duty, it's not going to change. Reform will be thrown into the abyss simply because people don't want to give up what is nice and cozy. Well, those times have come to an end. We simply cannot afford it. And if you haven't started to realize that, with the attempts that we've had by various chancellors to get us out of a financial mess, then really you're in the wrong business. And you know what my view is, those of you who follow us, 650 MPs in the House of Commons, and I wouldn't give you tuppence for one of them. Not one of them.
Who was the Chancellor when all of this started going downhill, I wonder? Oh, that's right. It was Rishi Sunak. Huh. Strange that.
Well, I think we've had a few loose chancellors as well beforehand. We don't seem to have, almost this century, we don't seem, and it's now almost a quarter into the century, the new century. We're not very far away. It's 2023 next year. So we're almost 25 years into a new century. And I think that this entire century has been one of a complete and utter disaster from governments and politicians and chancellors, you name it, alike. And if that doesn't change, then nothing will change. You're absolutely right. Yeah. The thing is, so what does happen is that a generation gets really fed up with what their fathers and their grandfathers have done, and then they rebel and they start doing things in a different way. Will that happen? I don't know, but it has happened in the past. So if we want to go on history, right, the Financial Times. Business and unions demand Sunak scrap planned bonfire of EU rules. What was the point of leaving? It was so that we could get away from EU rules. And now the unions, most certainly, one would expect to demand. But business, and that means actually the Confederation of British Industry, which for some reason, as an organisation representing business in Britain, seems to be a very left-wing leaning organisation, is we voted to get out so that we wouldn't be constrained by all these rules and regulations, which are EU rules. And now they're screaming blue murder because we've got a prime minister who says, I'm going to get rid of them.
Well, what we're doing is we're going into a soft EU. We're doing what Switzerland is doing. So we get the trade deals, but none of the some of the trade deals, but we don't get the absolute control of the EU like we used to.
Rishi Sunak has said we will not do that because the Eurosceptics say the Swiss EU relationship is they get all the benefits of trade, etc., etc. Yes, but the only concession they've got is that they don't have freedom of movement. In other words, they don't have an immigration problem. And after that, they're subject to absolutely everything, including putting in a chunk of money. The Swiss pay into the EU part.
Yeah,
is that what we want?
No, it's not. But you're right. What the major problem is Rishi Sunak has gone, well, I think what we'll do is be more moderate and go in the middle. So all the Brexiteers, all the people who were anti-Brexit are now cross because we're back in the EU, but all the pro-Brexit people are cross because we're not in the EU enough. So trying to make everyone happy, he's made no one happy.
No, but I think that if we're out, our rule of law says we are out of the EU. That's the way we've got to behave. The moment we say, oh, well, we'll put one foot in this camp and one foot in the other, you've had it. You've had it. You have no master and you have no servant, and you don't know where the hell you are.
It's a slippery slope.
Anyway, Sunak has said that he won't do that, so we'll keep an eye on it. The Financial Times says the Prime Minister is under further pressure from business leaders and unions to drop plans to scrap large numbers of EU laws next year, amid fears of significant disruption. The Financial Times reports, it notes that the move is among the key changes that have been pushed for by Tory Eurosceptics. The paper is also one of a number to carry a picture of the German football team who, ahead of a match on Tuesday, posed together with their hands over their mouths in an apparent protest at FIFA's decision to ban armbands supporting LGBT rights. I never quite haven't understood what LGBT is.
I know what the
concept is, but
do you not know what it stands for?
Yeah, I don't care.
Again, making the point again. Yeah. Germans stay away from the armbands.
Yeah, that's right. The Times. Britain's told how to save energy. Okay. Ministers are preparing a full-scale £25 million public information campaign to encourage people to cut their energy usage and bills.
Yeah,
the paper says it's thought households could save up to £420 a year with no loss of comfort. And quote Chancellor Jeremy Hunt saying they have a responsibility to lower usage to stop the country being blackmailed by Russian President Vladimir Putin. What's your reaction to that?
Yeah, to be honest, pretty standard. With the Putin thing especially, it's just, why were we relying on our enemies for the things that run this country? That seems ridiculous. And why are we relying on the Chinese for a lot of our energy with nuclear power? I mean, what was it? Shit was going on. 40% of the reactor on Sizewell C, I think 60% of it is owned by China. Why are we letting our enemies control our major infrastructure? It's ridiculous. We should. It's easier said than done, but we should be more energy independent.
Well, actually, I mean, one of the things that is, I know that you are very avidly against the World Economic Forum.
Very.
But the fact is that the World Economic Forum championed globalization. Globalization was going to be the great savior. Well, now that's discredited. Globalization has not worked the way that the World Economic Forum and the world's business leaders thought. So now they're having to do a rethink. And the trouble is that they pushed so hard for globalization is to unwind it is very difficult. Once you actually set something in motion, to actually reverse it, it's a bit like flying. Actually, one of the things that I have done is I've flown a 747 in the simulators at Crane Bank in British Airways in London, and I had a marvelous time because I actually landed it on the roof of Terminal 3. But one of the things that you learn is that if you put the rudder down and you start the plane that way, and you realize you've gone too far, you put your foot down, but it doesn't stop going that way for quite a while. It only swings back. And in many ways, legislation and the ways of doing things internationally are the same. Once you've started it running in a particular direction, to reverse it is very difficult because you've got to sort of stop it for one thing and then start it on its way path back, which can take a number of years. Anyway, the Daily Telegraph. GPs to go on shame list over access. What that story is all about is that apparently there has been a root and branch look at what's happening to doctors' surgeries and how they have not seen people in person but have done it over the phone or over the internet. And they say that it can't go on. That there are people who are beginning to suffer because they've misdiagnosed that way, and that anyway, many surgeries are taking their foot off the accelerator. And I would agree with that. That's my experience too. What's your thought?
Again, I don't have anything insightful to say on this. It's just a bog standard opinion.
Right. The Daily Express. A new dementia drug could be ready next year. Oh, thank God for that. Because I'm beginning to forget names and that sort of thing, the things that they say that elderly people do. Whether I'm on the way to dementia or not, I don't know. But if there's going to be a drug ready to reverse the process next year, that's great. Because I'll be sitting here, Max, and I'll be looking at you, and I'll remember who you are. I mean, that's a fate worse than death. Daily Mail. Drivers hit with 30,000 parking tickets every day. And what it's pointing out is that the government promised to clamp down on cowboys and that private firms who just soak the public. And they've done nothing. So a record 30,000 parking tickets are being issued every day across the UK.
Well, we've spoken about this before, but when you used to have police walking around on the beat doing their job, you don't anymore. You don't see that. But what you do see walking around is parking ticket enforcers constantly. Traffic wardens are everywhere because they make money.
That's right. What are they trying to do? Are they trying to ease the parking problem, or are they trying to make money? And you're quite right. The answer is they're trying to make money. They don't ease the parking problem by slapping a ticket on a car that's in a zone, no parking zone or whatever. What they do is that they make 30 quid for whoever happens to be their boss, whether it's private or whether it's public. It is all wrong. But they are there to try to alleviate traffic problems. Those people are not taught anything of the sort. They are taught. You can see them. They're armed with all sorts of things, and they take photographs of somebody just a little bit out of right, and slap the ticket on the car. Yeah, that's not alleviating the problem.
We've had that. We've had a similar thing before. Do you remember when nurses were allowed to do whatever they wanted during lockdown? They were given all free parking tickets to park anywhere. So my mum got one. She could park anywhere without paying. And a traffic warden came up, took a photo of the car, but it was from low. It was a low angle, so you could only see like the license plate and then the windscreen. You couldn't actually see what we had on the windscreen. So we got a ticket for no reason.
Did you appeal?
Yeah, we did.
Did you win?
I don't think so. I'm not sure. I can't remember.
Well, you should have won that, because if you showed it exactly the situation as it was, is that they.
I think we did win.
Yeah,
I can't remember. I have to ask my mum.
I hope you did. If you didn't, take another look at it, because that's something that we could go after.
Yeah, that was in the Iceland car park on Hayward Heath.
Right, it's 9 o'clock. We'll look at the other papers. The Mirror.
Yeah, we've only got
70,000 Brits have been scammed. 120 arrested after vulnerable are conned into handing over savings. And apparently, not only that, but the loan sharks are at work too. Payday loan things, and you borrow £20, and you have to pay back 40.
There was a company. Do you remember Omega Loans?
Yeah,
they were charging like ridiculous, like 400% interest rates, and they got shut down by the government.
2,000%. Yeah.
Yeah, no, they were. Some of them,
right. Yeah.
they got shut down by the government.
Well, supposedly, but this says that now the scammers are back, and the criminals posing as bank staff, and persuading people to hand over their savings.
Posing as bank staff? What? What?
Well, they actually will call and say, we've reviewed your please go into your bank account and tell us what it is, and we'll readjust the problem. And many people fall for it, apparently.
Yeah, a lot of people do. It's quite ridiculous how I don't understand how
people I can understand to some extent, because they are very clever. I mean, I get stuff into my email account, and it says, we want you to avoid being scammed, right? And so if you actually follow this link and so on and so forth, we can make sure that you're not being scammed. And what you are being is being scammed.
So you're not being scammed. Put in your card details on this very dodgy website, and we'll make sure that no one takes it.
That's the sort of thing. The Daily Star. What's my Daily Star? Already the funniest World Cup in history, and sincere condolences to our friends the Germans in your hour of need. He says, "Nah, only joking." As the surprise 2-1 loss to Japan in the World Cup on Wednesday, which followed Argentina's defeat to Saudi Arabia earlier in the week. The paper says we shouldn't laugh, but it's already the funniest World Cup in history. And to some extent, I really think that with all the pride that goes with what our footballers do, I suppose it is. It's quite funny, really, that these super duper teams go on against the world's amateurs to all intents and purposes, and they lose.
In like 50 years' time, I'll be telling my grandkids like how ridiculous the time I grew up was. Like what a ridiculous time it was to live. And just be around.
But as we are playing the United States tomorrow, and everybody will go ho ho ho.
England versus the US.
Sorry,
England versus the US.
Yes.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And the fact is that we lost to the United States somewhere in the 50s. Way back when the United States were really supposed to be a joke. So these things happen, and you have to be very careful about how much pride you put on these, because what happens is that people swing from your team being a hero to being villains. There's no in between. They either absolutely delirious or ready to take them out and hang them by the neck until where. The sun. Place in the sun axed me. Oh, the sun. Place in the sun axed me after I got cancer. This is another peripheral program that I occasionally see. I think it's to do with buying a house in a hot place. And the TV host, whose name I do not recognize, whose face I do not recognize, but he's complaining that he was sacked when he told them he got cancer. If it's true, it's appalling, but who knows? Who absolutely knows? Do you want to go down to our little park?
Yeah.
And I will actually just try to see if I can get some local news.
Okay, here we go. Okay.
Well, the local roundup of news isn't terribly scintillating for today. It's police are concerned for a lady who's missing. Wind gusts through Sussex during a 9-hour warning, and apparently that warning is that's what the egg limits for customers. Apparently, you can only get 3 packets at a time. Supply issues have seen 3 of the largest supermarkets here rationing eggs. There's Tesco, Asda, and Lidl have all rationed eggs, and it looks as if some of the others will come on board. Sainsbury's and Morrison's are yet to put any restrictions on their supply of eggs. I'm not sure about Waitrose, and I'm not sure about.
I did notice that they were very empty. There weren't many eggs in Waitrose. I was in there yesterday.
Right. Well, I suppose that if there's a shortage, that's the only way that they can deal with it. But that's all going south, as it were. So we. Those are the basic headlines. Nothing terribly scintillating, I'm afraid. But
no.
Sorry if my.
Should we look at this New Haven clip? It's only a minute long, but
yes,
let's take a look at this.
Yes.
All right.
Yes. Yes, well, that is a little run around New Haven, a much maligned town, but I really sometimes think that they are not helping themselves very much. I spent just about 18 months ago or so now. I spent about a month living in New Haven, and I started to find little places which were a delight. And there has been some money put into the waterfront, but the town centre is dreadful. I mean, it's just awful. And people who knew New Haven 20 or 30 years ago said it was a lovely little town until the planners actually decided to put a ring road, which actually cut it off from everywhere. The place died. But in traveling as I have throughout Eastern Europe, the old Eastern Europe, the old communist states, is that much money has been spent by the EU putting back together old towns which were walled. One of the great successes is Vilnius in Lithuania. If you go in through the town gate, and there's a big sign that says we got 23 churches, and it's been beautifully restored. Now, it occurs to me that this ring road has actually created a wall around New Haven. And if in fact treated as a town and that the centre was restored to its former glory, then it would be a much, much better place and attract many, many more people. The local MP has fought very hard to get some money. It's been given several £1 million. And so far, all I can see is that they are boasting that they're going to build some sort of a community centre which takes into account all the isms and will actually offer a business centre with all the latest types of chairs. To me, what a waste of money, because it first of all makes an impact on the outside world, and secondly, it only helps a few. To me, if that money had been started with a rejuvenation of the town centre, which could be lovely, could be a lovely place.
Yeah, and you know what? I've got a story here. Speaking of waste of money and shitty towns, Croydon Council declares bankruptcy for the third time.
When?
Just the 22nd.
Right.
So 2 days ago.
Right.
Yeah, they've declared bankruptcy for the third time.
Yeah. Well, Eastbourne came either close to it or didn't.
No,
do
it
that
did.
About a year ago. Yeah.
No, it came close a year ago. It went bankrupt in 2013.
2013. Yeah. I mean, since we're and Lewis are tied very closely to Eastbourne, because it is Eastbourne and Lewis District Council.
Yeah.
We vote for different people, but
they all work out the same place.
Actually, the same.
Yeah.
As one of our top politicians, local politicians, I won't mention his name, but everybody will know who I'm talking about, asks the question regularly: is our money that we pay in council tax to Lewis actually used to pay for things in Eastbourne?
And is it?
Well, the fact of the matter is there are two things which seem not to happen. There is a thing that's called the scrutiny committee in the local political Lewis thing, which never seems to meet. And it's what it's supposed to do is to call the officers, as they call the executive, the full-time paid people, to account and to ask questions. And it never seems to either meet, or when it does, it doesn't ask the right questions. So as a consequence, we are always late posting our books. The accounts are out of date. So we don't really know. There is no real answer. I think that's an area that we need to do something about, because you're right. Is it? We don't know. That's the answer, because it's not been audited properly. Dreadful. Right. Yes. Okay.
Well,
so we were talking about one of the things that I loved is apparently down in the there's Sybil peering through the window. She's ready to come in. I'll give up my seat to her. One of the things that I really enjoyed about New Haven was that along the waterfront there is a man who brings a fish and chip wagon, the sort of thing that you buy fish and chips. And what he did was he actually started to sell lobster burgers, and the queue was a mile long.
Lobster burgers.
Yeah.
What? I've never heard of
you
such
get
a
lobster
thing.
in a burger bun. Yeah, it's great innovation.
That sounds
Lovely.
right. I've actually never had lobster.
Well, it's one of my favourites. I do enjoy lobster. But the funny thing is that lobster can be fairly big. They tend to throw back anything that's not 1.5 pounds when they actually pull it out of the water. But the parts that are edible really are the tail and the claws. After that, the rest is pretty awful. So you buy rather a big fish for little return, but the little return that you do get is it's very, very tasty, very, very tasty indeed. Can we see Sybil lurking in the background?
Yes.
Right. Sybil has arrived. So my main duty for today is at an end. I am being ejected from this seat. I can't rant and rave anymore because Sybil is going to come and take over from me, ranting and raving. Liza Page actually is. We fondly know her as Sybil. So she is going to join Max in a couple of minutes. So Max, I guess you will want to play a little program while the transfer takes place.
So, trying to briefly explain what it is. It is the let me bring up the title again of it. Bottled poetry with Annie Verrill and wine tasting.
Okay, that's quite long, by the way. I think it
12.
is, but you can actually cut into it.
Yeah, 13 minutes.
Yeah, good. All right. Well, I shall leave you to your early morning tipple, and let Sybil get settled in opposite to you, and away the two of you go. I always thought I was the master of the rant, but listening to you two, for God's sake, Jesus, you'd get anybody's goat. All right.
All right.
Play the thing, and I shall move out.
Here we go then.
Hello and good afternoon, good morning, good evening. Here we are with the second episode, which is all about wine tasting for all the people out there who are wine connoisseurs or just want to know a little bit more about the wines themselves. So we have with us Mr. Fergus Wood, who will introduce himself and tell you all about his company. Hello, Fergus.
How you
Please
doing?
tell us more about yourself. I'm well, and once we get through all these wines, we'll be even better, probably. How are you?
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. It'll be a great way. We're recording this at lunchtime, so hopefully it should get us into the afternoon quite nicely. Yes. And
Just
Thursday,
the right time for it.
Exactly. Thursday's the new Friday as well, so at least we're starting early. It's good.
Oh, I like that. That's great.
So yes, I'm Fergus Wood. I'm the founder of Camino del Vino, as you can tell in the background. I'm a new startup. We're about to launch a new startup, online wine startup, where you can find us at www.caminodelvino.co.uk.
I think it's very clever of you to have started this company because I myself, I don't know much about wine. I know there are 3 different colors.
Yeah. There's there's three main colours, but there's orange wines as well. But we'll go with
there
that.
We go.
Let's keep it simple to start with.
Shall we leave that for later?
Yeah.
Let's have red and white
Let's
later
white
on
and
for
rose
now.
later.
Okay, great. So last time you were about to start talking about this beauty here,
Yeah. Go,
Wonderful.
Go with a pearl earring, yes.
which is a Merlot.
Correct.
Lovely. Here it is. And it's Chilean, is it?
It is Chilean, yes, correct, yeah.
Great.
So it went by a different name, the portrait, or the painting, sorry.
Yeah, yeah.
I can't remember what it is, or don't really know.
That's fine.
But
Yeah.
it's now just known as the girl with the pearl earring because it is so iconic and so distinct.
Indeed.
But this particular Merlot is also great for a region. It just thrives in the Central Valley, and the Central Valley it's sort of wedged in between the Andes on the east coast, and then it's got small sort of low-lying mountains on the west side. So it really tucks in below there. And Chilean climate is very Mediterranean. It's very warm and sunny. But then sort of it gets that through the day. But then when the cool climate from the top of the Andes comes down, when it comes into the night, it starts to cool all the vineyards down, so it helps mellow out sort of the growing conditions, basically. So it doesn't go ahead of itself, really. It doesn't wear itself out through the growing season, so it sort of cools itself down. So it doesn't need to start photosynthesizing, and yeah, it basically ends up with a lovely, elegant wine at the end of the day, and which we hopefully crack onto now.
I love the way you told that story. You should be a teacher. It's like a nice piece of geography and a little bit of history, and it's the story behind it. Well done. Can I open the bottle now?
Yeah, should we do it? Yeah. Let's see, why not? I left mine annoyingly in my storeroom outside, so it's a little bit cool, but I think yours should be at a good temperature.
Yes.
Because you don't want it. Red wines, particularly, you want them to be like 16 to 18 degrees, sort of like if you have them at room temperature, you should be fine. Red wine's a little bit chilled, but you should just be fine. You should still get the same flavors, which is good. So
okay, right. Let's open that up now. Before anyone judges out there, this is what we decided on having the red in, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm not a very big wine connoisseur, I just grabbed whatever glass I had at home. I just wanted to make sure it's not a pint glass.
No. So it's very good. So if you hold it up to the camera, you can see that in a bulb shape.
Yeah.
Sort of like that. That's very good for wines in general because it helps collect all the aromas and flavors rather than let them go. So when you do swirl it around and when we go and sniff the wine, you can actually smell all the flavors that are in there. And so it just helps those sort of pinched in walls help the flavors and aromas bounce off and keep inside. So, and where you want to fill it is just below the sort of the widest part of the bulb.
Here?
Just want it, about there. Just fill it out,
just below the widest part.
Yeah, you want to fill it at as wide as part. You just want to fill it slightly below, especially for tasting, because I'd say that you don't want to. Later on after the recording, you can fill it right back up.
No.
Just for tasting, you want to let all the aromas just tuck in. Whereas if you filled it a little bit higher, they may just sort of go out.
Also, let me just ask about the top. Now, of course, many people believe that if it's not a corkscrew, then it's no good. If it's just a screw on. What's the truth behind this?
So, there is a slight bit of truth in that. Yeah, a lot of one of my friends as well. He's very, especially for like these sort of wines, South American wines that do have a corkscrew. He just doesn't. He doesn't believe that good red wines should not be in a corkscrew. It's they should have a cork in it, basically. Just because it's like, what the cork does essentially, it just imparts a different level of flavour onto the wine that maybe the winemaker wants to do. But it's just, again, it could be a cost factor, or it depends very much depending on what the winemaker wants to do. But I guess it is sort of genuinely true that a lot of the cheaper wines do have screw caps, because it does cost a little bit more to put corks in, redesign the bottle and all that sort of stuff. But there are still very good examples of wines which have corks, twisty caps, screw caps on the top. And so again, it's just like, it's one of those really. You can just take it as you will. Hopefully you'll like this one, and so which is a good example of it being a good wine and needing a screw cap. But yeah, it's just it imparts a different flavor onto the wine, basically.
Good. Well, thank you. You demystified that.
You're testing me today.
I told you I'm a novice, so whatever pops in my mind, I shall ask. I don't know if it's silly or not, but
I like it.
Very good. So now to the important part.
The important.
Is that okay?
Yeah, that's good. That's perfect. Yeah, that's great. I got that. So yeah, what you
swirl.
You just want to give it a quick swirl. And you should be able to, if you just gently put your nose over it. I can sort of, you can smell it already. You should be able to smell like fruit flavors already.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, so they're quite typically, especially for this Merlot, they're typically red fruit flavors, so such as strawberries.
I was going to ask, is there strawberry in there somewhere?
Exactly, yeah. So that's very typical of a good Merlot, and sort of representing what the grape can offer, basically. And so yeah, give it a big swirl, and then if you want to dig deeper, put your nose in it, and you can try and pick up, especially if you do go a little bit deeper, some sort of floral notes as well that maybe the wine should have as well that could be present in this. If you can smell it, I can definitely.
Oh dear. No.
What are you going?
Floral. What type?
Yeah. If not, no worries. If your nose may not be particularly as attuned as mine, but it's something you may get to develop on later on.
All right.
Yeah. You may as well like be able to pick up like maybe a slight bit of bell pepper sort of flavor, like green pepper.
Herbaceous.
Yeah, herbaceous. Yeah.
Interesting. You see, I would never have associated green bell pepper with wine.
There we go. Yeah.
It's healthy. It's full of fruit and vegetables. We need more of this.
Yes, exactly.
Right.
Yeah. And then
very good.
So we passed the first test. We've done the smelling. So these sort of flavors as well that you can pick up in the aromas essentially of the wine. You should be able to taste as well when we start to sip the wine as well. So there should be basically, whatever you pick up in your nose should be fairly representative of what you pick up on the mouth as well. But sometimes you may be able to find a couple more flavors that are, for instance, you could not smell on the nose that you could then pick on the tongue.
Right.
That's just it's dependent on the wine basically, and it's very it's just whatever. Taste is very personal after all. So what you can taste and what you can't taste is entirely up to the person doing it basically. So yeah, we should wait and see.
So turn out I am very rubbish at this, but let's give it a go.
What you want to try and do is when you sip it, you want to try and let the mouth the wine sort of cover the inside of your mouth. So try and swish it around as if you're using mouthwash essentially. So you can get a real, especially for red wines, because they contain tannins. You get this sort of general feel and sort of slight covering, but it's a really pleasant covering of your mouth, and it's a slight drying texture to it as well, which is very representative of red wines. And that's what a lot of people do sort of like, is that sort of slight drying sensation, which helps sort of, it's just nice really. I don't really know how to explain.
You can tell a very good story. Right. Let's see. That's very nice.
Good.
Don't ask me about fruit. I already told you the most important.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. As soon as if you pick it up in the nose, just write it down whenever you're tasting. If you're doing a tasting thing, the same again. I've got the exact same one. But yeah, can you sort of feel on your tongue a slight dryness? That's what tannins are basically. There's slight dryness, and this particular Merlot as well, given the region that it grows in and the climate, and quite like medium. They're not too in your face. That some wines we may explore later down in the line. They're not too like really boom. Well, but they're not too sort of soft. It's a nice middle ground. It's a nice like midweek wine, I'd say. You just get on with it.
very easy to drink.
It's a good conversation wine, though, isn't it?
Yes.
Talking about the label, and then you have a sip, and then you're like, they matched it beautifully, I think.
Very good. So would you say that different red wines contain more or less tannin, or is the amount of tannin the same? It's not, is it?
Well, in red wine making, for instance, the tannins particularly come from the skins, and maybe sometimes the stems especially in the classic vineyards that they use. They sometimes put the stems in with the fermentation process, but the skins contain most of the tannins, and this is what is distinguished between red wine making and white wine making, is that red wine fermentation process contains all the skins in it with the wines, with the grapes, so all the grapes, whereas in the other one, they crush and then press the white wine, so that it's just the juices that are fermented.
So there's no skin?
So there's no skin at all, yeah. So that's why tannins, you will never feel tannins in white wine.
White wine.
Yeah, it's only applicable to red wine. Yeah.
I like this.
Yes.
Yes, I don't think I like the red wines that contain too much tannin, because when I taste that dryness a bit too much, I can never explain it. It seems, I don't know what's the word for it. What's the best word? Is it too dry then, or too something? But I can never explain. But whenever I taste, go ahead.
I mean, it's quite intense, isn't it? Especially when you do get a big bombshell in your face, in your mouth, of a big tannin grape. It's not for everybody's liking, definitely. But I think definitely this one is a lovely sort of evening. Pop it on
by the fire
party. Now they're in, maybe outside of lockdown periods with other people, friends and stuff like that. You can have a couple of bottles of these on a Friday or Saturday night and let everything go. Yeah. Even
for an everyday wine with some food, or in the evenings, I would definitely recommend. It's very, very nice.
Nice.
Cool. Right, just a little bit more and then I'll put it away. Very nice. I feel like I want to eat it.
Good. Can you feel as well? I noticed on my last golf as well, like my tongue being sort of quite fresh in itself. It's like a minty flavour. That's quite indicative as well of the sort of region and Merlot. It's quite like a lovely little, just fresh minty eucalyptus sort of feel as well, which again would be the herbaceous sort of side coming into it as
the green peppers, right?
The green peppers, the same sort of category, yeah.
Right, so girl with the pearl earring, I agree. It's very, very good. Very tasty. Thank you very much. I hope one day you will return with another arty wine.
I do. I have another one. I have a Sauvignon Blanc, which we could do, also from Chile as well. So this would be a great opportunity to go, okay, we've done the reds, now we can move on to the white side of Chile. And especially Sauvignon Blanc, one of Chile's best white wine, great varieties that it produces as well. So.
Thank you very much, Fergus. This was very, very nice. I've thoroughly enjoyed this. I shall try it later again, just in case. See if I can recognize the bell peppers later on.
Exactly.
Right. Thank you very much. We shall be back next time. Thank you. Thank you to the viewers, and thank you to lovely Mr. Wood.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Okay, and good morning and welcome to Age and Youth. Today, change the banner. We have me and Liza Page. Good morning, how are you?
I'm wonderful. How are you, my baby man?
My baby man. Oh. Yeah, I'm good. I'm fine. I'm doing well.
You look good. You look better than you did last week.
Yeah, I'm slowly getting better. There's been a few things here and there.
Well, you had a bad day, didn't you, you poor baby?
Yeah.
You know, you were not well at all. But we got you well, didn't we?
No, well, it was those damn antibiotics I was on for so long. It wiped me out completely.
Yes.
They're out of my system now.
Yeah, well, you start taking better care of yourself.
Well, it was just an ear infection. There was nothing I did in particular that got it infected. Apart from wear headphones too often, get your ears sweaty, and that's when the infection happens. I just need to be more careful with wearing headphones so often. It'll also start making my hearing go eventually, I'm sure, so I need to be careful of that as well.
That you have got to be careful about. I remember my hearing went when I was with the John Barry Sevens, sitting too close to the drummer.
You were 19 at the time, weren't you? You were my age.
Yes.
At my age, you were in a rock band.
Yes, and it's so dangerous hearing-wise. These kids today, where they go to these raves and the nightclubs and that, please don't do it.
Yeah, my friends are always saying, no, come to a nightclub, come to a rave. It's just not my sort of scene.
No, I wouldn't see you at one of those.
No, there are some in Brighton that I wouldn't mind going to. There's a couple specific nights where they do 80s nights, 70s nights, all the way back to the 30s.
Oh, really?
They do specific nights. Yeah, I'm interested.
Yes.
Yeah, I might go with some of my friends for that because that does sound my sort of thing, like 80s and 70s. That's the most of the music I listen to from that time period. Classic rock.
Very nice, yes.
But yeah, the rock music does definitely make your hearing go bad.
Ooh, yeah.
I mean, my granddad's almost completely deaf. He's been in a band for the last... he started when he was 15, getting in a band. So he's been in a band for 60 years.
Oh, he's my generation.
Yeah, been in it for 55 years, I think. Yeah.
So, what are we going to talk about today, you and I, Max?
Well, the first story is...
How are we going to solve all the world's problems?
How are we going to solve all the world's problems? You're right. How do we do it? Well, we'll start off with something a bit lighter. The World Cup is going on at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
And there's constantly controversy. I think the Daily Star called it the funniest World Cup we've had in decades. The funniest World Cup we've ever had. I think that's true. Everything is just so ridiculous. Yeah. I mean, first of all, we're holding it in the Middle East, in Qatar. I mean, that's already a bad sign. The whole building was made by slaves and everything. And the teams are so woke. They're constantly virtue signaling about, look how good of a person I am because I care. But yet they're still playing. You don't care that much, do you? Of course you don't. But, I mean, it's always something. It's always something. I mean, it's a bit of a... Just so you know, it's a joke, okay? Calm down. I'm not being too serious about it. But last year, it was Black Lives Matter and then getting on one knee. This year, it's the gays and they're getting on two knees.
How do you get up? I would find that an impossibility, and I know Keith would.
At your age, yeah. Well, no, I meant... I don't think you got it, but whatever. Someone will understand.
Sorry.
But yeah, they have these gay pride armbands, and the Germans are wearing the armbands. I mean,
yes.
Historically, okay, I don't think... I mean, last time the Germans wore armbands, it wasn't...
They wore stars. I don't know if they wore armbands. I suppose they did, but they used to wear the yellow star.
Well, they had the armbands, the red armband, the white circle.
Nazi thing. Yeah,
that was the last time the Germans wore armbands, and now they're wearing them again.
Every time I come on your show, darling, I mean, we have this conversation, and I keep telling you, that nothing changes. Absolutely nothing changes. We're just repeating. All we've learned to do is kill people quicker and more efficiently by dropping a bomb on them.
Yeah.
Huh, that's you all gone. How many did we kill with that then? Oh, that's very interesting, isn't it? We could double up on that, couldn't we?
I mean, what we dropped, America dropped 2 bombs, 2 nuclear bombs on Japan. And what was the point? What was the point? Hundreds of thousands of innocent people died. And they were innocent people. They were regular citizens going about their daily lives, going to work, going to the bank, going to school.
Well, what's happening now? Same thing.
Just in a different form.
Yeah.
I mean, the New York...
And these bombs that they're dropping, I should think there's a bit of nuclear in them.
Well, they're certainly not good for you.
No, I think that's the understatement.
Even if they aren't nuclear, they're still not good for you.
They're not too healthy, no.
But I mean, the New York Times had a headline recently saying how a small nuclear war could reverse climate change. Did you see this?
Well, that sounds very much like Bill Gates.
Does also, yeah. I mean,
I think he must have said that. Yes.
It was the New York Times that said it. How a small nuclear war could reverse climate change, because what it would do is it would like black out the sky, and it would create it would create a winter, a 2-year-long winter, and it would reverse the
radiation does.
It would so-called reverse the effects of climate change. But yeah, the radiation, very good point. How are you're not going to be able to grow crops, are you? I mean, not only would it reverse climate change, it would also kill 90% of the planet.
And people.
And people, yeah. Not just, you won't even be able to grow crops, you won't be able to do anything.
And I mean, if
you won't be able to get sunlight.
The few that survive, even in these wretched bunkers that the rich are building for themselves, it causes leukemia, cancer, all sorts of dreadful things, radiation. People are never the same afterwards.
No.
It's quite ghastly.
I've got another story about similar to that from the BBC. Speaking of, let me bring it up on my phone here, because we'll go into the light stuff. This is the last light story I have before we go into the heavy stuff. Now, this is ridiculous. Okay, this published yesterday. Waitrose changes Christmas advert over complaints. Would you like to know why?
Yeah.
And how this ties in to what we were just talking about? It says, so Waitrose has changed part of its Christmas advert after it shows 2 farmers comparing suntans. Do you know why it was taken down?
No.
The advert was criticized by skin cancer patients. And they took down an advert because 2 people were comparing tans, 2 farmers. They took down a whole Waitrose advert because supposedly skin cancer patients were upset.
Yeah. Hard not to upset anyone these days, isn't it?
Well, that's the thing. Being offensive is an offense. It's illegal to be offensive. But being offensive is subjective.
I was
find
down at the bus station. When was it? This week sometime.
Yeah, I was there yesterday.
Yeah. And a friend of mine, Lamport, was with the council, and he got this bus station built.
Right.
Took him forever, but he persevered and did it. God bless him. Anyway, the seats you can't sit on. They're just sort of 2 pipes, and they were built apparently like that because they didn't want vagrants sleeping on them at night. Being too comfortable.
That's why in the UK all the bus stop seats, unless they're benches, they're all slanted at like 60 degrees 30 degrees.
Yeah.
So you can't sleep on them. They're very thin. They're like...
It's terrible. You certainly can't sit on them.
Like what?
I mean, it's an appalling design. Anyway, a lady came by and she said, when was this bus shelter built? Oh, she said, I'm so sorry. I should have said, excuse me first. I said, no, that's fine. I said, I think it must be about 7 years ago, something like that.
Wait, that bus station was only built 7 years ago.
Yes.
What?
It was relatively new, yes. Because my friend, Derek Lamport, who I introduced you to,
Yes.
he got them built.
I didn't
because
know
there was
that.
no bus shelter there at all.
I didn't know that.
There was nothing.
Right,
Yes.
okay.
And another one somewhere in the town he got built too. But God, did he have to persevere for it. No. But back to the lady who apologized for not saying excuse me before she asked a question. It's getting worse. Getting worse. People are petrified of one another, frightened to talk. I don't know what it is. And that makes it so easy to control. So easy. They know what's going on, but they're petrified to say anything about it. Now,
And
can
maybe
you
she was
imagine
just
how
being-
petrified people are going to be when they take away this money? When they do, we are finished. And this ghastly Sunak. I mean, he came in deliberately to ruin the country. Just polish it off nicely. And that's exactly what he's doing.
You know what? When all this ridiculous economic situation we're in all started, I wonder who was the Chancellor at the time under Boris Johnson.
I don't know.
It was Rishi Sunak.
Was it?
Yeah, he was the Chancellor of Exchequer under Boris Johnson, wasn't
Yes,
he?
of course he was.
And
yes,
that
yes.
he was the one who ruined the economy, and now he's the Prime Minister.
Yeah, so he could do the job properly now.
He can run this
Yes.
country into the ground.
That was exactly what he plans to do. And he's doing it very, very quickly.
He's going soft on China as well.
Absolutely. And I mean, our man that we discussed last week, Ian Duncan Smith, who tried to get these monstrous smart things out, wasn't even mentioned at the summit. Nothing.
Of course he was, and I said that was going to
Yeah.
happen. Unfortunately, I was right.
Of course. So it's getting bad. Getting bad, I tell you. And these, oh dear.
It is.
Anyway, a little thing here. UK. Danny Kruger stood before Westminster Hall on October the 24th and said he was ashamed he voted for the firings of care workers who did not want the vaccination. Kruger also accused the Canadian government of being in league with China and New Zealand when it came to depriving the population of their most basic civil liberties in the name of public health. Yes. And Kruger also said that, mentioned very strongly that these vaccinations have to be investigated, where some little chappie before stood up and said, oh, no, we mustn't waste time on that. Kruger said, no, excuse me, we must. And he's really doing his best to get these bastard things taken off the market, which should have happened years ago. So it's encouraging to know that there's someone else other than
him to stand
you
up
and myself to stand up and say
for
that.
him to stand up in Parliament it's brilliant. It's not brilliant.
Forward.
It's a start.
It's a step forward. And then America is saying there's too much China there, too much China cars, and blah, blah, blah. They are talking a little bit about that. But then, of course, you've got Biden who dismisses the entire thing. Oh, a 72-year-old man is sent to prison for 6 months because he wouldn't do as he was told.
Well, Yeah, there's probably a little bit more to that
He
story.
had a bad heart and had another heart attack in prison. He served mince pies and alcohol when he should not have done so. He
So you
didn't
didn't-
know he was in the wrong tier, apparently. And
He didn't have an
know
alcohol
that.
license.
Yes.
Right, okay.
And
And he had a...
demanded to see the video that the police took, and they wouldn't show it to him. So David Fletcher, the judge, said he was anti-establishment and wouldn't do as he was told. So he sent him to prison, and the poor sod had another stroke in there.
And so he's dead.
72-year-old man serving wine and mince pies instead of a full meal.
So he got sent to prison for not having an alcohol
For
license.
6 months. And
6
had
months.
With 72 years of age, bad heart, very good reputation. Had another stroke inside prison. And I mean,
Unfortunately, that's how the legal system works. There's no leeway. There's no, oh, this was an honest mistake. It's, well, the books say we have to put you in prison, therefore
yeah.
you're being put in prison. And you can't question it, unfortunately. You can question it.
Chinese regime.
Not, yeah, we do have a Chinese regime, but what the problem is in that aspect is there's not enough leeway in the law. There should be a certain amount of leniency. I'm trying to think of the
Well,
words.
there should be some common sense.
Common sense.
Oh, my lovely David Icke is now being compared to Socrates. But he said he won't be taking hemlock because he doesn't want to give them the satisfaction.
I don't know what hemlock is.
Good. Well, Socrates took hemlock, you see, it's poison.
Oh, poison, right.
Yeah, you can just see David Icke doing that, can't you? Brilliant, lovely man. All right, what have we got here? Oh, yes. Do you remember last week I told you about the man in Canada who was in hospital, disabled, and had a hospital bill of 1 million and was running up bills of sort of 100, a day, thousands, and because they know how to charge, don't they, those hospitals? They really do.
Yeah.
Anyway, the staff came and said, look, you owe all this money and you're not very well. Would you consider suicide? Now, I was just wondering, if you went to Donald Trump or one of those guys and said, now, look, you owe a nice few quid, would you consider suicide? I wonder what he would say. Can you imagine? I'd buy tickets for that. I really would.
We've been talking a lot on here and a hell of a lot off of the show about euthanasia and discussing it. I support the idea of it. Just like to me, it's sort of the same way as I'm supporting the death penalty. I support the death penalty in the idea. I think it's a good idea to have the death penalty, but who controls that? It's the government. The government can't even fix a pothole. Why can they take someone's life? That's how I feel about the death penalty. I support it in theory. I support euthanasia in theory, but it's...
Now, the thing is...
Hang on, can I just...
Sorry, darling. So sorry. I'm always doing that to you.
No, it's fine.
Go ahead.
My problem with euthanasia is it's assisted suicide.
Yes.
But it's assisted...
Government-assisted suicide.
Yes. It's assisted by the government.
Now, you see, as for the death penalty, I am strongly against the death penalty unless it's for these politicians.
Send them all to Gitmo.
Oh, no, that's too good for them, darling. No, the death penalty should apply to politicians, and then they wouldn't be so slap happy at killing us off with phony injections
Why-
and all this sort of thing.
Why
and
do
making
you?
life so difficult that we commit suicide because we can't bear the restrictions that are put on us. I think they qualify for the death penalty. I really do. And I think if you brought that in for them, they'd think twice before they started dishing out these laws. Because it seems to me they mutilate people's lives. Then they say, well, I'm retiring now with a piss pot full of money. And then they just drift off and they're forgotten. There's no, hey, but you did this and you did that and you did so and so. Sorry, I'll be off now. That's all it is. Where is the punishment for these people?
There will never be a punishment for these people unless the
And
regular
we
people.
didn't elect them either.
There will never be a punishment for these people unless we, the citizens, do it. They're never going to, first of all, investigate themselves. They're never going to find anything wrong with themselves.
Of course.
And they're never going to punish themselves. Those three things have to happen in concession. That will never happen.
Oh.
The government will never investigate itself and find something wrong. They will always say, oh, we're good. We're fine. Everything's
so
all
I
right.
think that, the death penalty should apply to these people.
Why do you not support the death penalty?
Well, have you ever seen a person put to death with electricity, shave the head, stick a thing on the top? Or no, what gives me the right to take another woman's child?
Yeah, well, I don't
Listen,
see it
if-
as
if,
taking.
If someone had murdered my child or something like that, I'm very sure I would think very, very differently, but that hasn't happened to me.
It won't happen.
So I rest my case there. But I
You
see,
can't, no. If you can't just rest your case there, because if you say yes, I would understand why I would definitely want to kill the person who killed my child. Why would?
well, I think I would be so angry, and even though I would have to have some sort of repentance. As I don't even have a child, I'm really not equipped to give an answer to that. Not entitled to give an answer to it. But I can understand why some people would want to do that. But I see no point. It takes something away from us as human beings. But these
does.
mass killers, I definitely think it should apply to them. I really do. And then I think they would think twice before they shoot these laws. I mean, look how many people Fauci has killed. I mean, a guy goes in with a gun in a temper or something like that and shoots somebody. Yes, you plan to do that because you took the gun. It wasn't, a minute thing. So you get the death penalty. But these people killed millions, thousands of millions of people with these drugs that they knew were lethal. And they're getting away with it.
We have some more to talk about Dr. Fauci, so we'll go into that. But what we're going to do is going to play a clip because I need to change the camera that you have. So what we're going to do is we're going to play a short clip, 5 minutes long, about the food bank. So something nice and more cheerful than what we're talking about. But then we'll get back into Dr. Fauci. All right, here we go.
My name's Mark Perryman. I've lived in Lewes for about a decade. I'd never really been involved in, I guess, what people would call community campaigning before. I'd always been interested in politics, making a difference, but the coronavirus crisis made me want to do something. And I've kind of been an event organiser since I was a student. So I've got a kind of organisational mind, and I came up with this idea of an all-day food bank collection, which we started at Waitrose on Easter Saturday, and it really grew from there. We started off at one supermarket, and then I contacted the cricket club, Lewis Priory Cricket Club, and I said to Peter, I said, would you come in your whites? He said, yeah, we're coming on whites. Well, they turned up outside Waitrose in whites, pads, padded gloves, helmet, visors down. And so everybody who was going to Waitrose knew that Lewis Priory Cricket Club cared about food poverty, and that's what switched in my mind. I thought, why don't we create not a kind of coalition which is like a committee, but a public and visual coalition. So on our Saturdays, we have 9 sports clubs, 7 bonfire societies, 4 churches, 3 political parties, bands, musicians, artists, poets, keep fit fanatics, chefs, a yoga group, a book group, through the whole day. And we've expanded across all 3 supermarkets, Aldi, Tesco's and Waitrose. It's an extraordinary visual coalition of a town that cares. And also, we're saying food poverty exists in this town, in this wonderful town of ours. There is food poverty, and that stretches to childhood malnutrition. Of course, we shouldn't have to do something about this. We're the 6th richest economy in the world, for goodness sake. We shouldn't have to have food bank. And this is where I get quite emotional. In '84, I was out collecting tins of food for striking miners. And when people say, sorry, I always well up at this, when people say, what are you doing this for? I say, because now we're having to collect food for our neighbours. You know, that's the state that we're in. Obviously, that's been created by the coronavirus crisis, but don't go away with the impression it's going to get any better next year, because then there will be the redundancies and the mass unemployment. And so this is a desperate need, and of course we shouldn't need to have to collect for food banks. But in the here and now, you know, I wanted to stop people being starved back to work. I want to stop people having to starve through Christmas. So, and we're making a difference. We're making a massive difference in this town. We enter each item of food that's been collected. The food bank gives us a list of 24 items they need. So we're not only collecting quantity, it's quality. So we can lift people's morale, lift their health as well. Then we have a very complicated system of delivery to 3 different food banks, Lamport, Mallings and Fitzjohn's, all through the day. Some of them have different needs to others. What we do is we ensure that each food bank gets a third from Tesco's, a third from Aldi, a third from Waitrose. People start by going out on their Saturday shop, and we ask them to add 1 item to their shopping list. Lots of people are generous and they add considerably more, but all we're asking is for 1 item, and that adds up to 5,661 items by the end of the day. And then we have our secret shoppers. We will raise something in the region of £700 through donations. People who can't come out on the day, can't help, they're not shopping, they'd like us to collect something. Our secret shoppers go into the supermarket, and because we've recorded everything's been donated, we see, oh, we're a bit short of coffee, we're a bit short of bars of chocolate, we're a bit short of cereals, and we bump that up. Lewis is a town full of sounds, isn't it? We've got 13 choirs, we've got brass bands, we've got ska, we've got folk, we've got 7 panto casts. They're going to be there collecting, and they're going to be singing, he's behind you, no he's not, yes he is, you know, there'll be all of that. And it's another symbol of a town coming together. We will be socially distanced, we will be wearing masks and visors, and we'll be keeping back, but just to remind people that, you know, the spirit of Christmas is needed more than ever.
Okay, and welcome back. Sorry about that. I've changed Liza's camera now. There was a crack in the previous camera, and it was reflecting some sort of red dot. It made her look like she had some sort of sniper pointed at her.
Oh dear, well maybe that was deliberate. I mean, you can't win them all, can you?
Oh gosh. Well. Anyway, it's sorted now. So.
Are you quite sure?
You told me a story yesterday that Anthony Fauci's daughter worked for Twitter.
Yes.
I don't think she does anymore. I'm not sure if she did. I cannot find any.
Oh, she did.
I can't find any article, not a single one.
Oh.
I'm not saying that doesn't make it not true,
Yes.
because obviously they suppress a lot of stories.
Yeah.
Okay, we're back.
Yeah. Hi.
I'm not sure what's
Yes, a
going on
lady mentioned it on a show with Robert Kennedy Jr.
Could you repeat that, because we cut out?
Yes,
Go back
that
from the start.
Fauci's daughter.
What we're going to do is go back to scenes in Sussex, because I need to turn the Wi-Fi back on and restart the router.
Okay.
So we'll be back in 2 minutes' time. Here we go. Cannot connect back to our Wi-Fi router. There seems to be some issues going on. I'm just trying to check out what the live feed is like. Okay. All right. So what we're gonna. Okay.
So what we're going to do is we're going to. I'm not sure. We're in a bit of a situation here. Okay, we're at an hour and 37 minutes.
Look, can you sing?
No, I can't. But unfortunately, it seems to be that there's no audio coming through either.
Oh dear.
So you can't even hear what I'm saying, I don't think, because it's not coming through on here. What we're going to have to do is we're going to end the broadcast and have to restart. So we will be back as quick as we can, no longer than 10 minutes. And if we can't go back for a long period of time, we'll put out a short apology. So either way, we will see you soon. Hopefully we'll be able to finish the rest of the show. Here we go. Sorry for this.